Hi everyone, it's Chrissy from First Day of Home. Today I'm covering a lot of different Valentine's Day crafts that you can make with your Cricut machine. We're going to do everything from leather crafts to paper and felt and even glass can wraps, so stick around and let me know at the end which one is your favorite. We're going to start off with some paper flowers because I feel like this is a great craft for any time of year. In my Cricut Design Space profile, you'll find this project linked and it is already formatted for you. I just wanted to give you a quick overview of different types of flowers you can make so that you can go in and maybe make a bouquet for Valentine's Day or put them in a little shadow box. So we've got a variety here like succulents and a dahlia if you're looking for something a little more complex. The most basic types of flowers you can make are just layered ones like this hibiscus, where I'm just gluing the pieces together after cutting them out with my Cricut, and then you can always turn the stamens up for more of a 3D effect. I like to roll the petals either inward or outward on some of the flowers just to also give it a more realistic look. Another technique you can use with paper flowers is adding distress ink to the edges. This can add a little more dimension and make them look more realistic, like I did here with this succulent. If you want to add flowers to a frame or as an accent, rolled flowers are a great option. So here I'm just using my quilling tool, which kind of grabs the paper and allows me to roll from the outside in. And when you get to the end, you can just use a dab of hot glue or craft glue to seal that bottom. And here's how this one turned out. You can also do combination flowers that require rolling first and then attaching petals to the outside. So this purple rose that I'm making here, you can see you attach the flaps by gluing them, and this gives another more layered look to your flower. If you want to make more of a three-dimensional flower, this dahlia is a great option. The leaves overlap, so you'll just glue the two flaps together to give a more three-dimensional look. Then for the petals, you always have the option of adding some paint around the edges. This, to me, makes it look more realistic and just makes it look less flat. Then in terms of assembling the flower, you'll just start with the largest layer and add each layer in kind of an alternating pattern. So here you can see that I'm kind of making a star shape, curling the petals inward, and then finally adding the stamen here at the end. Then you can add the leaves that we made and attach this to a longer floral wire if you want to make a bouquet or try one of the other flowers in this collection. But I think paper flowers are such a great way to celebrate Valentine's Day. For this next craft, I'm using a wooden heart, some felt, and some paint, and we're going to do a little combination of paint and Cricut crafting. I'm going to start by adding a base coat of white paint to my heart. You'll want to add 2 coats of paint just for good coverage. I wanted this to be a polka dot heart, so I used my Cricut to cut out a few circles and then just placed them around the front of the heart once the paint was completely dried. I'm going to use these as kind of a reverse stencil. I like to use a little bit of Mod Podge. This is just the matte formula. And I'll explain why this is important in a little while, but first I'm just going to add a little Mod Podge around each of these dots. I ended up mixing a few different shades of pink because I'm trying to coordinate with some felt flowers that we will make next. Anytime I mix a custom color of paint, I like using these little food storage containers, the kind you get when you get takeout food. That way I can come back later and have my paint ready when I do my second coat. These are the felt flowers we will be cutting with our Cricut, and I have a few different options here. There's a peony or peony, however you like to say it, some rolled roses, and a different kind of round rose that I will show you how to make. I prefer using the purple strong grip mat for this particular brand of felt. Just be sure to test it because sometimes a fabric grip mat will work. That's the pink one. But in this case, you can see I had a little trimming to do because the first cut didn't work very well. I also like using a lint roller to remove some of those fuzzies from your mat when working with felt. For this project, I also found that the rotary blade worked best. I'm using my Maker 3 machine. A rotary blade is compatible with Maker machines, but if you don't have that type of Cricut, you can try using your regular fine point blade. After cutting all the felt pieces, you can start assembling the flowers. I like using these little felt balls as the center of the flowers, and then I'll just add hot glue in stages to wrap the flower up. This is very similar to how we wrapped the paper flowers in the first project. Then when you get to the end, you'll just add one more dab of hot glue to seal the bottom of the flower. For the next flower, we're going to do more of a layered design. I'm going to start with this little fringe centerpiece or stamen, and I'm simply rolling this up, again using some hot glue. Then for the petals, they have flaps similar to those leaves that we did for the paper flowers. So I'm overlapping the flaps, as you can see here, and that creates the curvature of the petals. Once you have all of the petals complete, you can start attaching them to the stamen one at a time, beginning with the smallest petals. Again, it's good to offset each layer so that it looks balanced and even all the way around. Once you have that done, you can attach any greenery like the bottom of the flower and the leaves here. And for the leaves, I like gluing just the bottom part to give it some curvature. For the round rose, you'll take one of the small petals and just roll it up and add some glue to keep it in place. Then you'll start with the smallest circles and add those as petals around that center. Again, you want to offset each petal that you add so that it looks even and balanced around the center of the rose. Again, with the leaves, I'm just folding them in the middle at the base, and then you can attach them to the bottom of this rose. I'm also going to save a few leaves because we might use those for another project later on. Finally, I wanted to show you another option for the stamen where you fold over the fringe piece before rolling it up. This just gives it a fuller look and looks really unique and pretty as the center of a flower. Here's how all of our felt flowers turned out. I'm not going to use all of them for the wooden heart that we painted, but I'm going to decide what's going to look best. Now I'm going to remove those dots we put on the wooden heart, and you can see the benefit of the Mod Podge. There's no bleeding underneath like you often find with stencils. It's really nice and clean. Next, I'm going to sand the edges just to give it a more vintage look, and I think this really adds to the charm. So I'm just going to sand a little bit on the front and on the sides. Finally, you can attach the flowers using some hot glue. I also added a few leaves to this, and here's how it turned out. I think this is adorable for a tiered tray or a bookshelf. It's so cute and would make a great gift for Valentine's Day. Since we have felt out, let's go ahead and keep our mat. You're gonna need some ribbon, a little needle for embroidery later on, and some embroidery floss. And again, I will use my rotary blade for this particular project, but you can try a fine point blade if you don't own a maker machine. Again, this project is available in Cricut Design Space under my profile. I will link everything down below in the video description. You can also click on the title of the video to view that. You probably noticed the little circles as well as the hearts in Cricut Design Space. The circles are going to be like little felt flowers that we will put behind buttons. So here's what everything looks like all cut out, and you can see I'm going to add a few little colored buttons on the front, along with some of those leaves that we cut in the last project. We're going to be making some ornaments for a little Valentine's Day tree, so I'm attaching some ribbon to the back side of the heart, and this is going to be hidden once we attach the front and back pieces. I used a blanket stitch to sew the front and back of the heart together. You can also use a simple whip stitch, but if you're interested in seeing a blanket stitch tutorial, let me know in the comments because I will post another video with more details. To give the hearts a little more dimension, I'm adding some polyfill stuffing to the center, and then I will finish closing it with my blanket stitch. Here's how the ornaments turned out, and I jumped on the bandwagon to have a Valentine's Day tree. You'll have to let me know if you like this idea, but I think it looks super cute for Valentine's Day. Sticking with the heart theme, I'm going to cut a few hearts out of cardstock in a few different shades of pink. I found the perfect collection of scrapbook paper that I will link to below that had many different shades of pink, including some glitter ones that we will use in a later project. Once I had all of my heart shapes cut out, I just folded each heart in half. And the plan is to make some heart ornaments that could also be used as a garland. I'm going to alternate colors by gluing the halves together, and this is going to give a nice 3D effect as opposed to just a two-dimensional flat heart. I'll do a few different ornament color combinations here, but you'll want to just alternate colors until you have 6 hearts attached to each other. Before you close the ornament, you'll want to attach a little piece of string in the center, and you can just glue that to the spine of the heart here. As you unfold the heart, this is what it looks like, and you can close it with either a paper clip or you can just glue those last edges together. These ornaments look great either hanging from a Valentine's Day tree, or you could string them on a longer piece of twine and use them as a garland. For a different version of a heart ornament, check out my honeycomb ornament pack that I will link to from my shop below. It's another beautiful way to do some paper crafting with Cricut. Remember I mentioned that scrapbook paper pack I bought? These are some of the beautiful sheets from that packet, and we're going to be using them to make some fortune cookies for Valentine's Day. You can grab this bundle that comes with the circles and the fortunes here, and this is how you would upload it to Cricut Design Space. This is a print then cut project. So once you upload the little fortunes, you will choose flat graphic to import that into Cricut Design Space. Then if you like, you can file them under your Valentine's Day folder and add any tags you like. After adding them to the canvas, you'll want to resize the fortunes. I did this to a height of about 8 inches. And you can also ungroup the circles and cut them with different color cardstock. So I just like to make a few extra copies to match the number of fortunes, and then I'll just color code them to tell Cricut Design Space to cut on different materials. You will see this screen for print then cut first, and you'll just click continue and hit send to printer. I always use the system dialog box for printing. This allows you to set the print quality. So I will change under media and quality for my printer. I'll select best, and then you can also change the type of paper if you like. This is what it looks like when it prints out, and you'll notice the black lines in the corners. These are registration marks. This is what is going to tell your machine where to cut. So you'll want to adhere it to your standard grip mat, and then once the machine starts, you'll notice that it's trying to read those registration marks. So make sure that your workspace is well lit, and once it reads those, it will begin cutting out our little fortunes. Once you have all of the circles cut out of your cardstock for the cookie part of the fortune cookie, you'll want to fold the circle in half and just pinch it in the center only, not all the way across. Then you're going to fold it in the opposite direction and press that center crease down in the middle so that the paper starts to bend and it starts to look like a little fortune cookie. Don't forget, of course, to insert a little fortune. I like to make sure the little hearts are showing, and then you can use your favorite paper craft glue or hot glue to seal it in the middle. I like to use a little mini clothespin just to make sure the glue dries. Here's another look from another angle so that you can see one more time how to assemble the fortune cookie. How fun are these little fortune cookies? Again, you can grab the file for these down below from my shop, and I think it's just such a fun way to add a little festive touch to a Valentine's Day party. If you're planning on having a Galentine's party or have daughters, you're going to love this project. We'll be using the print then cut feature again to cut out some Valentine's phrases. Again, I like to use the system dialog to set my print quality setting to the best possible one. I also sometimes change my paper to a photo matte paper just to get some better results printing. So we've printed and cut our phrases. Then I have these little plastic sleeves that I will use to make bookmarks. After inserting my cardstock into the sleeves, I'm going to add some little colorful confetti to each one. I will link to all of these products, both the plastic bookmarks and this confetti, down in the description box, so be sure to check that out. And I think this adds such a fun and whimsical touch to these shaker bookmarks. I'm using my Fuse tool that I just bought, and I am absolutely loving it. It seals the bookmark so that confetti won't fall out. And it has so many great applications for card making or any kind of shaker project, so I highly recommend it. I went ahead and filled in the other bookmarks with some confetti in different colors, and then my last bookmark didn't fit in the plastic sleeves, so I'm taking this page protector and I'm just using my Fuse tool to create my own bookmark. This is a great way to use this tool to seal off the plastic edges and make custom projects like this. So it only took me a few minutes to cut it down to size, and then I filled it with confetti and added my tassel to finish the look. I also want to point out you can make these for any holiday. Here are some Halloween bookmarks I also made. It's such a fun way to personalize a bookmark for anyone in your life who loves reading. You know I love making earrings with my Cricut, so I thought it'd be fun to make a Valentine's Day version. I'm going to change all of these to the same color because I have 3 small swatches of leather that I'm going to use, and this is a really cool feature you may not have used before. It's called Snap Matte and works with any iOS device like an iPad or an iPhone, and it allows you to take a picture of your mat so then you can place your design exactly where your small swatch is. So I was able to reposition my shapes so that they cut exactly where I wanted them to cut on my mat. I'm going to switch out my regular fine point blade for a deep point blade. This blade is compatible with both Explore and Maker machines, and it really helps when you're cutting a thicker faux leather. You'll also notice that I moved the little white star wheels all the way to the right, and then I taped down my leather so that it won't shift around while the machine is cutting. It looks like my leather cut all the way through, so I can go ahead and unload my mat. And that Snap Matte feature is a game changer because it cut all of my pieces just right. I might have to trim up a little rough edges, but it did a great job. So I'm going to go ahead before I forget and put my fine point blade back in so I don't accidentally cut with a deep point blade later. The next step is making some holes in the earrings. I like using this leather hole punch for that. And once we have all of our holes punched, we can go ahead and add the jewelry findings. I know I'm going quickly here, so if you want a full tutorial on how to make earrings with Cricut, I will link to a video up here. For my heart-shaped leather, I actually decided to make a keychain instead. So I'm gluing the 2 pieces together using some Gorilla Glue. Then I'm using my new Crocodile tool as a hole punch to make a hole where I can then insert an eyelet. And the thing I love about this tool is it sets the eyelet as well. So you just press down and then voila, you have a little eyelet to attach your keychain hardware. Now to package these earrings and keychain, I decided to make a few pillow boxes. This is another product you can find in my shop. When you import the file, you will want to ungroup everything, and then the lines are designed to be scored instead of cut. So you want to select all the lines by holding Shift and then change it from basic cut to score. After you do this, you're ready to make it on cardstock, and you can use either a single scoring wheel or you can choose to use a scoring stylus if that's what you have with your machine. I'm going to go ahead and put my single scoring wheel in there, and after it's done, I will replace it with the fine point blade again. For one of the smaller pillow boxes, I also decided to cut a rectangle to wrap around it, and you'll see how that looks in just a moment. Since we had those score lines, it's very easy to fold this pillow box, and then you will just need to add some glue along the flap that's here on the edge to seal it. Then it's just a matter of folding the box along the curved edges. There's a score line on each side and a little indentation for someone to easily open it up and find the surprise inside. So you'll want to do this to both ends of the pillow box. As I mentioned on the smaller pillow box, I cut out a little rectangle out of vellum paper, and this just adds a nice little decorative touch to this. If you want, you can always decorate this with some ribbon, or I've done it with wax seals before, so there are lots of ways that you can decorate these, and I think these are going to be perfect for packaging those earrings and the keychain that we made. Let me know in the comments which pair of earrings or keychain you liked the best. Next, we're going to make a cosmetic bag using Infusible ink. So you'll need a little piece of cardstock and butcher paper. I'm also going to use puff vinyl and press all of this with my Easy Press. I found this cute design in Cricut Design Space that says might be makeup, might be snacks, and I thought that would be perfect for a little Valentine's Day treat. I'm going to go ahead and select all of the black pieces holding shift, and then I will make sure that I attach them so that they cut out with the same orientation. So as you can see here, I have the black on one mat, and I'm going to cut this out of Cricut Infusible ink sheets. So I'll select that and go ahead and cut it on my machine. You'll want to make sure mirror is on and then return those star wheels if you moved them for the leather project. I have my Infusible ink sheet here. It looks brown, but it actually is going to turn to black once we heat press it. I'm using a non-Cricut vinyl here for heat transfer, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure the mirror is on before sending it to my machine. After trimming down my pieces, I went ahead and removed the negative space or weeded the material. And again, with Infusible ink transfer sheets, you want to be real careful and just crack and peel as you remove that sheet. Don't forget the little spaces inside the letters too. And then of course we have our 2 sets of lips that we're going to press with puff vinyl. If you haven't worked with the Easy Press 3 before, I have a whole video on how to use it and get set up. I'm using the Cricut Heat app to send the instructions to my machine and to know exactly what to do to prep my material here. So I inserted my cardstock, lint rolled it, and then I'm applying butcher paper on top to preheat. Once it's preheated, I'll apply the Infusible ink first. Once that's done, you can remove that carrier sheet and apply your puff vinyl wherever you want it on the design. Then I'm going to use this Teflon sheet to protect the Infusible ink we already pressed, and I'm pressing according to the instructions that came with the puff vinyl. So you can see how this turned out. So cute. I don't know if you can tell that the lips are kind of raised, whereas the Infusible ink looks like it's part of the fabric. Super cute and great way to combine different types of vinyl. For this last project, we'll be using holographic vinyl to create a glass can wrap. So I've created a rectangle here as a guide that has the dimensions of my can, and I've just added a few different types of hearts. I'm gonna create my own pattern here by just copying and pasting or duplicating, and I'll play around with it until I get to a design that I like. One tip that I have for you is anytime you're doing a glass can wrap, make a duplicate of the entire design, and that way you can see when it's fully wrapped, does it look good? Are there any hearts that you want to move around a little bit so that it looks like one continuous design? Once you're satisfied, you can go ahead and delete that duplicate, and then the rectangle that I created as a guide, I'm actually going to cut. So I'm going to switch from guide to basic cut. And then as a last step, I'm going to make sure that I attach everything so it's going to cut exactly as you see here. I'm going to go ahead and select holographic vinyl as my material and get cutting. I find that having that outer rectangle makes it easier to weed the vinyl, and once you have this completely weeded, including the little spaces inside the hearts, you'll want to use some transfer tape to pick up the entire design. It can be a little tricky to pick up the vinyl onto the transfer tape, so I sometimes use a squeegee tool. Cricut makes one. This one came with the cup holder that I'll tell you about in a minute, but that will help to make sure that the vinyl is completely picked up. I'm going to go ahead and wipe my glass can with some rubbing alcohol first, just to make sure it's free of any lint. Then I like to use a piece of parchment paper to help me line up my design, and then I'll use the squeegee tool to apply it around the glass can. Using parchment paper can be really helpful when you're making these glass can wraps, and I'm going to post a video later this year to show you how to make more complex designs using glass cans as well. Before you apply the final piece of the transfer tape, you'll want to make sure you kind of lift the starting piece so that it doesn't overlap. So here I'm just peeling back the first piece that I applied to the glass can so that I have enough room to finish laying down the design. As we peel back the transfer tape, you can see just how beautiful this design is. I really love this holographic vinyl and think it's perfect for Valentine's Day. Let me know in the comments which of these Cricut Valentine's Day projects was your favorite, and I am going to also leave a few more videos that I think you'll enjoy, so I hope to see you back here next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe.